Thank you all for coming this morning. I'm really happy to have you here with us. So this is the resume that we'll be coming back to, that I'm hoping that they can print as a PDF and then get uploaded to the chat for you. And then I would like you guys to all, if you wouldn't mind, would you just verbally tell me what you're hoping to get out of this session today? What is most interesting or most important to you about this resume call today?
I have been looking for about a year. I want to make sure I've got the right document out there to market myself.
Okay, great. What else, guys?
I've been looking for almost 4 months, and my resume, I've been told, is too dense, and there's too much white space on it, too much detail for an executive level to convey.
Okay, perfect. What else?
I was just going to say just some good tips and tricks, to improve our success rate with getting a human to look at our resume and to get past the ATS system.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'd like to just hear what other people are doing. In addition to your expertise, Brandy, but what other people are doing in terms of their resume and getting in front of the right decision makers.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, for me, it's about keeping current and relevant. I hadn't looked for a job in 25 plus years. And I think I have the right for ATS, but again, this has been a big learning. I feel like this whole job search thing has changed probably more in the past 2 years than it had in 20. So do I have any blind spots?
Okay. Anything else that someone would like to add to that list?
I'm hearing a lot of people saying that I need to position myself better, and I don't understand what position.
Yes, good.
So
yeah, we're going to cover that today. Today, what the main, yes, there's these sort of tactical things we have to do, but the goal is to get everyone's value positioned. And that's how you're going to get, your resumes are going to attract attention and be seen, and people are going to be wanting to talk to you when they get it in their hands. Okay. What else? Anything else? Was that a good start? Okay. First of all, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, one thing I wanted to let you guys know is that we have a digital kit coming. I can't tell you exactly when it's going to be released, but I'd be looking out for it in the next couple of months. And within the digital kit, we have these full-on explanations of what you need to do to the very tactical level in your resume, and of course, other aspects of the job search. And so I'm going to be referring to this document, and then I'm going to be coming back over and walking you through and answering questions about the template that is going to be uploaded into the Google Meet. Okay. So we're going to fluctuate between nitty gritty tactical and zooming back out to positioning. Okay. So the first thing that I want you guys to do is I want you to think about taking your resume, adding it to a generative AI. I don't care which one per se, but I want you to add it to a generative AI and say, here's my resume. And then I want you to ask it, can you please give me, you don't have to say please, you can say please if you're nice, but can you please give me the value extraction questions, right? Or give me questions that will extract the value out of each bullet point on my resume. And then I want you to go do the tedious work of filling those answers in. And then I want you to give the AI and say, here's my old resume. Here's the answers to my value extraction questions. What changes do you suggest I make to my resume? That's step number one, because if your resume is missing value, you're never going to be able to do anything else that I'm telling you to do today and actually get somewhere with it. We have to have the value of the work that you've done established first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Brandy, when you say value, do you mean in quantitative terms? Because value is somewhat subjective based on the reader. What kind of value are you driving at here?
That's why we ask the AI, because it's going to say, well, do we want to talk about this value, this value, this value, or this value? And here are the questions that you would have to answer to get the value around that. So this is going to be more of like, I sold, $50 million. So that's one type of value, to 20 different clients. That's another type of value. The 20 clients were Fortune 500s. That's another kind of value. Within 2 months, that's another kind of value. So there's a lot of different ways to think about value. And what's so cool about, the generative AI is it doesn't know either. So it's going to ask, like, what type of value are you looking for? And what we're trying to do is go, I want all of the value. I'm not going to be able to fill it all in because it was 20 years ago and I don't remember, but I will give you as much value as I can that I can remember, so that it can then help you reposition your resume from just a resume to a value-based resume. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It's not a one and done. It's obviously going to be multiple iterations of this, because there's going to be I suspect, some back and forth with validating or verifying what the value proposition is relative to your overall role. Is that fair?
Yeah, and it doesn't know if what you're telling it is true or false, but what it can do is it can tell you, we're kind of getting there. This is kind of C-level value, but you're kind of missing this. It can tell you, if you're looking to produce a C-level resume, this is what's missing, and this is the value that's missing from it. Okay, so once you have established a substantial amount of value in the resume, now we need to start structuring it in a way that positions you to get sold. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that the hiring manager, the recruiter, your friend, whoever it is, they skim. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 seconds to sell them. Okay. So where does their eyeballs go? What did you just, assess where your eyeballs just went when you looked at this? Where did it go? It went title, saw the first part of this sentence, skimmed through a couple of these words, and then went down here. The billion caught my eye, and so on and so forth. So you just have 7 seconds for them to decide whether they're actually going to read it or look at it, which means that the title needs to be clear as day. I can't be trying to search around for who you are and what you're applying for and what you're trying to be positioned as. I can get there if I scroll down and I, look at the titles here, but we don't need to make them work that hard. We can just literally put a label at the top. Then we want very few key expertises. And this is where people they really struggle, because they're like, oh my gosh, Brandy, I've done so much. So here's the litmus test on the key expertise. 1, will I get hired for that expertise? So now you've got to think about who your hiring manager is. So who hires the CFO? It's either going to be the CEO or the board. So I've got to say, is the board and the CEO going to hire me for exit strategies and M&A? Is the board going to hire me because I'm going to help them with equity and debt financing? Are they going to hire me because I'm going to help the company go from private to public? These are all very differentiated, very hireable key expertises. And so they are relevant to put on the resume. Why is it important for someone like the CFO to put something like curiosity and love for learning? Everybody has curiosity and loves to learn. So that's very generic. That's not highly differentiating. But why might that be important for a CFO to put that?
Because maybe they want to start using AI.
So what I was thinking was that CFOs are known, their reputation is known for kind of being hard, right? Logical, financially driven. So to soften it up just a little bit and show the human aspect in the resume actually levels up this resume versus bringing it down. Whereas if I have an account manager who has lots of human stuff on there, then maybe with them, I need to lean into some more of the strategic elements, because maybe most of the resumes that I get that are account managers don't show the strategic elements, where usually a CFO resume is going to show all the strategic elements and not necessarily showcase the relational side. So we also have to think about that, like how are we typically seen in the marketplace because of the role that we have, and how are we going to stand out against other people's resumes that are coming through. So now you're saying, okay, Brandy, but how did you get to these in the first place? Well, in my mind, these are actually just labels to these things down here. Okay, so for example, exit strategies and M&A, I'm going to zoom in. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so exit strategies and M&A is a label that goes with this strategic impact statement here. So this says, extensive experience with M&A transactions, including leading the successful sales of OVAS and home-cooked menus, creating valuation models for dozens of potential targets, due diligence, and integration of acquired companies. And what I love about this resume is that she emphasizes it here, she emphasizes it here, and then she re-emphasizes it here. So now we've got a theme. She's like, look, I'm really strong here. This is something that I do intend to bring to your organization. And in 7 seconds, whether they hit here, here, or here, M&A becomes a theme for them. And I'm going to anticipate that if I want to see where she did these M&A transactions and how much they were, I could scroll down into the resume to find them. Right? So again, we see the M&A here. We also see down here where she had multiple roles at one company, merger and acquisitions that happened. So for those of you who have huge resumes, lots of positions, and lengthy stuff, if you can put all of the positions at the top and then cluster your bullet points into several areas like this, that's going to help shorten your resume. And it also makes it much nicer for us to read instead of having to read through all of your history. So now you say, okay, Brandy, well, how do you get to these aggregated states? How did she get to, for example, raised over $1 billion in capital, including multiple venture capital rounds and structured debt facilities? How did we get to equity and debt financing as a label? So what you're going to do next is you're going to copy paste your entire resume into a new document. Just call it buckets or clusters or something like that. And you're just going to start bucketing things. Now, when you do this, make sure that you remind yourself, this was, when I was the CFO at Scorecard. Okay, you don't want to lose that bullet point as you move it around. So you'll want to do this. And then you're going to start by taking all of these bullet points and you're going to cluster them and just see, what do I do over and over and over and over and over again at all the different companies across all these different industries within my career? All right, so let's take a simple one, guys. Let's take cost savings. Let's say I have cost savings at company 1, cost savings at company 2, cost savings at company 3, cost savings of, it'll be obvious that the bucket that starts to show is a cost savings bucket or a cost excellence bucket. And then I have all the cost savings under there, all the different companies and all the different industries. And then I'm going to create a single statement that says, over the course of my career, I have helped companies save over $50 billion through these initiatives. And it's been at these types of companies in these industries, including Amazon or Fidelity or whatever it is. One statement for that one consistent driving value that you have all across your resume. And that one strategic statement goes up here. I've raised over $1 billion in capital through multiple venture capital rounds and structured debt facilities. And because this is such a big theme for her, she created a label for it, and the label goes right here. And it goes right here. And in 7 seconds, she has created value and a theme of where she is going to add the value. And like she's telling you, this is what I'm going to do for you and what I'm going to bring to your company. Hey, if you scroll down my resume, you're going to see where I raised capital. I raised capital here. I raised capital over here. Here's how I did it, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to pause for a minute. What questions do you have so far?
I have a question. One of the things that a lot of people say is that do not go back more than 15 years. And I see this one goes way beyond. What's your opinion on that?
So all that is expected of you is 15 years, right? The last 15 years. You are welcome to go back further if you think that that particular set of value adds some strategic element to selling yourself. If you don't think that that's the case, you don't need to include it. I would only include anything director and above on the resume. Nothing below at this level. And also remember, they're not even going to get to that part of it unless you sell them at the aggregated part up here. So it's more important for you to focus on saying, you know, what is my total aggregated value that I have brought to the world over the course of my career? And then decide, do I want to show that down here or do I want to leave that open for discussion if they ask about previous history? But it's the question or the litmus test is always, does it add strategic value? Does it add strategic impact? Does it matter? Is it going to get me the job? Are they going to look at it and say, wow, this was amazing? Or is it going to cause pause or question? We're only trying to show stuff that helps them make a decision that we're the obvious choice to talk to.
That makes sense. Thanks.
So to me, it depends is the answer.
So can I,
It really depends.
coattail on that, Brandy, please?
Yes.
From Luis's point, I have a varied, V-A-R-I-E-D, clinical nursing, certified professional, healthcare administration. So to do that, like, I can't be, I need to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So with this particular position that I'm applying for, I may very well have a resume for that position that only focuses on the past 15 years. For another position, I might need to incorporate something that was 25 years ago. I mean, it's critical behavior. It's critically important that I did those things, activities that are contributing to my success in that role. I may have to have a separate resume to highlight some of those things. Is that fair?
You may. Yeah.
Okay.
And you also need a resume that you can just hand somebody that it's an open, right? I've met you. There's some connection here. We don't know what positions are opening up, but we know that there's potentially a future here with you. Give me your resume. You do have to have that one. So you have to decide what that one is and which one you're going to hand across to just anybody that they may then share with 10 other people. So we always need the one that's like, this is just really the resume that defines who I am, the value I bring, what I can do across the board. So I would keep that in mind too, that it's not always about just applying to a specific position, but there is always the generic resume that, needs to be handed across the desk. And one of the most important things I want to point out with that point is that I heard the ATS thing come up, and I will tell you at this level, most of you will not be going through the ATS to get the job. You may have to submit a resume through the ATS and to go through protocol. But most of you, if you think about where you got your last job, how you got your last job or the job before, most of us get our jobs through our network, through referrals, and through performance. Very rarely do we get jobs through the ATS. So although you want a resume to be ATS compliant, I think that the majority of your focus should be on creating a resume that you can hand over to people, to recruiters, to hiring managers, to friends, to colleagues, that positions you really well for how you want to be known and what you want to be seen for and what value you're going to bring to the organization. And that's what's going to get you traction, not necessarily applying for jobs and submitting your resume to the ATS, which a lot of the time just kind of goes into a deep, dark black hole, and it's never seen. So I don't want you to overemphasize ATS at this level. So far, so good. Anything else that you want to ask? Okay. I'd also encourage you to submit your resume to the, generative AI and just say, if you were to score this resume as a C-level resume, as an executive level resume, what score would you give me and why? I want you guys to do that litmus test on it to make sure that it is being positioned in a way that the people who are actually going to read it, and it speaks their language. What happens if you don't know what your hiring manager wants? So let's say someone in here is going to be reporting to a VP of sales at a pharmaceutical company. What do we do if you don't know what is relevant or what matters to that VP of sales at that pharmaceutical company today? What do you guys need to do to get to a point where you understand what are the critical, crucial, key focuses of those hiring managers in 2026?
Perhaps look at the SEC filings.
Yep, that's one way to do it. What else?
Ask ChatGPT.
Yep, perfect. What else?
Look at job postings that are out there for the same title.
Job postings is going to help. LinkedIn profiles of people are going to help. Yep.
Use your network to try to do an informational interview with somebody that works.
Yeah, I think that's great, right? Go if you know VPs of sales in pharmaceutical, go ask them and say, hey, what's the biggest pain points that you have today? What keeps you up at night when you're hiring this role? What do you always see? What do you never see? What differentiates someone from the other person, from another person? I know you look at 100 resumes to try to find somebody. What really stands out to you and why? Why is that so important? And they'll tell you, I always see this. We always get this. We expect this. Everybody has this, but no one has this. And this is the thing that really makes a difference for us. And once you just understand what that is, it is highly likely that you actually have that, but you just didn't know to highlight it and bring it to the forefront to catch that person's eye. So a little tactical here. If you have delineations that need to go behind your name, make sure that you put them, because remember, we're asking ourselves, will I get hired for my EMBA? Will I get hired because I have this cybersecurity certification? Will I get hired because of my finance certification? If the answer is yes, I could get hired, or I could get looked at, or I could get sorted out in a different way because I have that, then I would not leave that on the table. I would definitely include it.
So, Brandy, I have several credentials, and I've been told it's like so typical in hospitals and healthcare, alphabet soup. I'm an RN, I'm a BSN, I'm an MHA, I'm a CPHQ, too much? Or should
So-
I tailor my resume heading, my credentials based upon what's in the position description?
Yeah, you're doing the right thing. You're thinking about what are they going to care about, right? What do they need to see? Absolutely. Put anything that they need to see in your resume up front.
Okay.
And if there's something else where you're like, based on the description of this job, it looks like if they knew I had this, they would be like, ooh, and you have that? And you would get the phone call. Those all need to be right front and center.
All right.
They can still go in your resume at the bottom if they are not strategically important, but still could play a role or could show credibility. So it could still be in there. It's just a matter of where you're putting them. But anything that needs to grab attention goes at the very top.
Yeah, to supplement that, Brandy, when I work with executives, I normally caution 2 is about the right number, 1 or 2. If you start adding 3, 4, 5, I saw when they had 10, that's just too many for most headhunters that are looking for executives, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And then another way to level up your resume, which a lot of people at the executive level just don't realize that this will help, is to create a little tiny italicized description right behind the name of the company on your resume. It doesn't take up any more lines. It just says, look, this is a $47 million private fintech firm. The reason why that's important is because if I were to sit here and ask you guys, how big is Target? Could you tell me? You know Target. What's their annual revenue? Okay, so no one knows? Anybody?
20 billion.
But
So
it's a
if
lot.
we're all guessing now. This is great. So if we don't know, if someone else sees your resume, even if it's a big company, they don't even know. But if you make it like just right in their face, look, I was the CFO at this $47 million private fintech firm. It's really helpful to them to know exactly where you play and where you have had expertise. And if that is going to add value to their company, because they know what theirs is, they know that they're a $3 billion company, but they don't really know without actually having to go research or look or remember like how big your company was. So that levels your resume up immediately just by adding that. Obviously, we need education and certifications at the bottom of the resume. Any questions about that section? Okay. The dates don't have to have the months at an executive level. You can just include years. And I like to put the city and the state right before to keep it all on one line. And then I showed you this before. This is where you're listing the positions all at the top here underneath where the company name is. And then you've got these strategic impact labels and then just a couple of bullets within those to explain the entirety of the experience at that company. So instead of getting clear into the details of what I did as a manager, I'm just saying, look, overall at this company, this is what I did for the company. Does this help answer the question that we had in the beginning about how to take all those details and start squeezing them up into a more concise format, but still keeping the value of what you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Randy, is the goal to still try to keep this at 2 pages?
So 2 pages is perfect. 3 is acceptable. Remember, I don't really care about the length so much when I'm already sold on the first half of the first page. Then I just want to see what you did. Now, if you go to 4 pages, I'm going to mark it against you because I'm going to say, look, this person's really verbose. They don't know how to summarize. We know we're going to get an executive in here that doesn't know how to summarize and is going to make us sit here and go through all this stuff. So yeah, 4 pages is too long. 3 is acceptable. 2 is perfect. 1 is a bit short. When I get a 1-page executive resume, I think, you don't really care about helping me understand what you've done. And I don't know if I'm overly interested in that. I'm sure that might be suitable for certain roles, certain industries. certain audiences. But I think if you're going to give me a brief, give me a brief. And a brief is a one pager that highlights everything about you on one page. So to me, I distinguish a brief from a resume, and a resume is typically 2 pages, unless it's like a student who only has 1 page of history to share with us. That's my thoughts and opinions, and that's just what I typically see works the best. Larry, do you have any?
Yes,
to
that's
add?
perfect.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Number of bullets here. Absolutely no more than 6. Try to get it down. 1 is probably saying maybe you don't even need that experience. So 1 or 2. 3 is great. 1, 2, or 3 is great. 4, okay. And then you start getting into 5 and 6 is starting to feel like a bit much, unless you just really have some very clear, strategic, distinct impact areas that need to be separated out. I will tell you, the more technical the job is, it can get really difficult to do this. For example, when I work with my software engineers, there's a lot that they have done in a lot of different ways. And, it's like, we just squeeze until we're like, we've just squeezed the juice out of it and we've just got to leave it. So I do understand that it can be difficult. But you just try to get it down to as few bullets as possible to save the reader. Okay. All right. So formatting of the bullets, you're going to start with a verb. Always start with a verb. And the best way to do this is like right here. Include the value and the verb first at the beginning of the sentence. Our brains always think about what we did, what we went through, how we got there. And we think that's important. And we say, oh, we did this, we did that, we did this, we trudged through this. And that is so important for you to know. And it's like, actually, that's not what I care about. Because I don't care that you went through all of that stuff if you didn't produce a value, if you didn't produce an outcome or an end result. So the reader actually cares about the result and the value. And so they want to see that you obtained 1.5 billion in asset-backed credit facilities. And that should go first. And then you say, by doing this, this, and this. I did this by doing this, this, and this. Okay. And then these are, obviously showing the values, which we talked about. Okay, we talked about that. Talked about buckets. Let me zoom out. This is like a, typical, once you cluster or bucket things, like how things could kind of come out. Right? Things like this. Okay, we talked about how to get to the strategic impact statements. Any questions about that? Because that is the one most important thing to figure out. And these are not individual examples. You can see she does have an individual example on the last one, but typically these need to be aggregated over the course of the entire career.
If you want to use these to apply for a position, do you adjust these strategic impact bullets for that particular role, or you keep these?
So what you will highly likely see is that when you do this exercise, you probably really only have 10 areas that you are an expert in. You may have a lot of ones with little stragglers, but there's probably only like 10 main areas or something like that. And then you go, I can combine these two into a single area and talk to both of these points in one bullet. So then it really does get narrowed down to, 4 to 6. So most of the time, all 4 to 6 of those are highly relevant to every single role that you're applying for, and they don't need to be modified. But that being said, I have had people that don't include certain ones on certain jobs that they apply for, and they do include other ones. And it's just to save the reader, right? It's like, if it's not relevant to that reader, then let's just take it off so they don't have it. It creates a distraction rather than adds value to them. So most of the time you won't need to, but you can if you think that would help. Okay, let's talk about the intro for a minute. How many sentences does the intro need to be?
2.
2 is correct. Good job. 2. How many sentences is yours, you guys, right now?
Oh my God, it's an epistle.
Most of the time I'm seeing 5 and 6, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes I see
sorry.
10. Yeah. So that's typical, because we're all just trying to figure out how. Use your new friend ChatGPT to say, I need to get this down to 1 sentence or 2 sentences. Because we're just trying to make a statement about who you are, where you play. This could include, I'm a senior finance leader and a strategic C-suite business partner with experience across global public and private. That could be startup, that could be nonprofit, that could be mid-market. You can indicate size, industry, and that. And then you just say, look, these are the main, I drive these main initiatives, this, and this. She did not include her industry on this particular example, but she could have said, within, fintech, real estate, and manufacturing, for example. I think in her case, it could have been environmental services. And that's helpful. I think just, helping people understand where you play in a very concise, quick sentence is what we're trying to do.
How about years of experience? I don't see that here. Is that
You're always just going to say extensive experience. At this level, you don't need to specify the number of years of experience. You just say extensive experience with extensive experience.
Brandy, I have a quick question.
Yes.
At the top, as far as the contact information, of course, I see the city, state, phone number, email address. I don't see LinkedIn listed there. Do you believe that's necessary to list it or not?
Most people do. Most people do these days. And the only thing that I would suggest when you do it, is just take off all the junk. So usually it has like HTTPS. Right? And then it has these, and then it has www. Just take all that off, right? And just do the LinkedIn, whatever, / so they know it's a LinkedIn, and then your name. And if your name has like all of this junk, you need to go resolve that as well. Do you guys want to see where to do that? So if I go to my profile here, look in the upper right-hand corner. Do you see where it says public profile and URL? You can change it here, and you just want a nice smooth name, first initial, last name, maybe use an underscore, like whatever you need to get, however you need to modify it to get there, but try to get it nice and clean.
All right,
then you can put it over here, and then you can hyperlink it if you want to. Most of the resumes that I do, I include it.
Okay.
Randy,
Okay.
one question on the real estate on page 1. If you add the strategic impact section, looks like you're soaking up about 40% of the page, and so you're going to lose 1 or 2 of your professional experience or jobs. And my question is specific to the kind of consulting advisory type practice that I'm sure many of us set up when we're in between full-time leadership roles and the projects that we work on. I'm curious just how you think about that in terms of putting that first, because it's the most recent, versus putting, your last corporate role first and then kind of putting your consulting effort somewhere after that.
Yeah, so you can do the consulting, just do it brief, just a couple of lines, right, to describe what you're doing there. And then if your role, the role that you had before is the right role, the right title, the right work, then it's great to just showcase that one and on the first page. The problem becomes when we've done this, our heightened role was here, and then we've had 2 jobs that we had to take downstepped to where we really are, right? That's where it gets a little tricky. And then we have, this LLC, and then we have this VP role and this other VP role, but we're really a CEO, and we're trying to show that. That's where it gets a little tricky. What I would recommend is that you cover that in the strategic impact area. You can cover various titles that you've had, various industries that you've played in, sizes of companies, names of big brand companies, all here. That gets me interested in looking through your entire resume. Does that make sense, what I'm saying to do?
Yes.
Does.
Is to highlight and showcase the stuff that you'd really need them to see in the strategic impact area so that they go looking for it. Okay, I'm looking through their notes and seeing what we covered. Okay, then once you get the digital resume done, we also have, let's use Meredith's. Where's this good? Meredith. Yes. We also have our online resume, because every time we connect with someone, every time we connect with a recruiter, every time we connect with a hiring manager, where do they go? They go to LinkedIn to check us out. This is really our digital footprint now. So we also have to have, that title really tight, the industries where we worked up here tight, our specific key areas of expertise tight. And that all comes from everything that we just did on the resume. Once you get those strategic impact statements done and the labels done, you can then create an about section that is highly professionalized and showcases your value in a way that's easy to read for readers. And we've got 2 audiences out here. We've got the hiring manager, and we've also got the recruiter. So recruiter is all about the keywords, and the hiring manager is all about the value and the labeling and easy to consume and read. So you can check out this person's profile, Meredith Gibbons, to get she does a really great job through the entire thing of positioning herself as the person that she is. She positions herself as someone who works at Global 15 size of company and does massive amounts of work in the supply chain space and the procurement space. And she's done some really amazing work there. And she does a great job of aggregating it all up and positioning it and saying, this is what I'm going to, be able to come to your company and help you do. Or thinking about this is the expertise I bring to the table. She might, become a consultant and go help people from an advisory standpoint, but at least they know what she's done and why they're hiring her to become the advisor or the consultant. What have I missed? Let's open it up to what Denise said. She said she wanted to hear from other people. Has anybody else done anything that has really been seemingly helpful to get themselves positioned and visible to others?
I got a lot of editing to do.
Yes.
So Brandy, I've got a question for you, and it's a little different in that I've heard it's actually at this level okay not to even have those core competencies. I can't remember what you had them labeled as, but kind of those key skills. What would you counsel on that?
I have my opinion, but I love Larry's response. So Larry, what is your thought around these key expertise areas?
Well, I would say you definitely want to keep them, because headhunters, I've worked with headhunters for many years. That's usually the very first thing they go to on a resume, because they have a profile of the executive they're looking for when they leave the CEO's office. They go straight to LinkedIn, and they get on LinkedIn Recruiter, they get a list of 100 possible candidates. And then once they get the names, they go in there and they pull, of course, all of this is information on your LinkedIn profile too, but once you're a match, because they go to the about section on LinkedIn, but then they'll ask you for your resume if they call you, and they immediately go to the expertise and they just check off the competencies and skills that match. And if you've got a 100% match or 90% match, bingo, you're going to be one of the 10 candidates he or she is going to call for the first screening interview.
Love that. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome, Amy.
Okay, so Executive Pivots does do resume reviews, and I'm just curious if you guys could give me some feedback for a minute. Would anybody be interested in doing a resume review where, you know, one of us, Larry or myself, looks through your resume and just, you know, on a customized level says, okay, here's what you need to do, here's what's good, here's what's bad. Maybe after this session, you go and fix it, and then you want to do a resume review with one of us. And if so, I'm just curious how long you think a resume review should be with somebody. If you think it should be a 20-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute, or an hour. Like if you were to purchase and spend money on a resume review, what is the level of time you guys think that should be?
Brandy, I guess, like, would we send you the resume ahead of time and you would look at it?
Yes.
If you would do that, then I think you could probably give us what we need in 30 minutes.
Yeah. And also when people do send them in to me ahead of time, I put them through a whole scoring, and I get the scores, and I show you, okay, this is how you scored as a C-level resume here, 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 and here. And so these are the things that you need to go work on. So we give you that feedback as well. What's the value of that to you guys? Like, how much would you part with for a 30-minute resume review? I'm trying to learn if I got it right.
If I have done my resume review with these steps that you gave me,
Yeah.
and I send them over to you, and I'm asking you for your professional insight on fine-tuning it, gleaning it, I would say $300 for half an hour.
Yeah. Anybody else have an opinion on that? Okay, well, it looks like we got it very right, because this is what we have. We have the 30 minutes for $250 here. So if anybody wants this, I'm going to put this in the Google Meet. All right. Anything else? We have 2 minutes before we close it up. And this is recorded, and it will be put out on YouTube. We have a channel, Executive Pivots, out there on YouTube that you can go out and rewatch this if you'd like. What else would be helpful to you today?
Brandy, what's your thought on video resumes?
At the executive level, they're just not into them yet.
Okay.
So I don't think you need to worry about them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, don't want to put all your energy into something that it's just not accepted by the market yet at that level.
Okay.
Did we cover everything that you wanted to cover today? Do you understand how to better market yourself, position your value, how to structure it?
And so,
Yes.
Brandy and Larry, if I want to take this and do exactly what Larry suggested with all of your coaching, and then follow up with you, is that in the chat, like that link to get in my revised resume in front of you for some of that refinement?
Yes, it's www.executivepivots.com, and then there's a / and then it's resume. And that's the link that you can just get on my calendar and get a review done. I hope this was very valuable to you today. We are going to do another one of these in 1 month, and Larry's going to be talking about, which one was it? Larry, did we decide on interviewing?
Compensation.
Oh, compensation. We're going to be having a total compensation call. So look out for our August webinar, so that Larry's been in HR for most of his career. So he gets to come at it from the side of the candidate, because he helps candidates now, but then he was also coming from the side of HR and what they expect in order to negotiate packages with executives. So it should be a great talk.